All right, I believe it's 6:30. Marty, you want to lead us in our invocation tonight?
Sure. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and this beautiful weather that you've blessed us with. Lord, we just ask that you be with us tonight as we discuss the city's business and make wise decisions in your name. Amen.
Amen. Misty, you want to lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll go ahead and convene our meeting. We'll start with roll call. Misty Cottle.
Here.
Jeff Upton.
Here.
Jan Throgmorton.
Here.
Marty Lindaberry.
Here.
John Collins.
Here.
Dina McKnight is absent. Don Rollins.
Here.
Jimmy Condiff. Absent. Our city attorney and city clerk are both present. First item on the agenda is the adoption of our agenda. Are there any changes that we need to make? Or motions?
I make a motion we accept it as it is.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion carries. Next is the approval of our meeting minutes from April 11th, 2023. Do we have any changes that we need to make to those? We have a motion.
Make a motion we approve the minutes as mailed.
I'll second it.
Motion and second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And that is approved. Next is our public forum. We try to allow 2 minutes a speaker. We don't take any official action from public comments at the city council meetings. Who would like to come and address the council? Yes, sir. Step up here and tell us who you are, where you live.
Hello, my name is James Scanlon. 2 minutes. I think everybody probably knows why I'm here. I reached out to everybody to let you know, and I do get a little emotional.
It's okay.
Apologize about that. I'm not going to go into the incident, but what I've done is I've collected signatures from all of my neighbors, everybody that resides on the paved portion of Owl Hollow Road, requesting the speed limit to be reduced to 25. And I've also included a list of other streets in the area in West Fork of identical nature that are all posted 25 with children playing. So I just wanted to present it to you. I'm sorry I didn't get on the agenda.
It's all right.
I certainly hope, because this is a public safety concern, I certainly hope that this doesn't have to wait until I get on the agenda next month if necessary. But I want to give this to you, and I'll be done.
Okay. Any questions for James?
What are the steps that we need to take if we were going to lower the speed limit on that street?
I think we would just need to decide that we did want to lower it, and then we need to order a sign to do so. And if you have more questions, go ahead, Ms. Ian.
No, I'm ready to make a motion that we
Okay.
approve it and lower it to the 25 in order of time.
Okay, so,
Second.
all right, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any other questions for James?
What was the name of the street?
Owl Hollow Road.
Owl Hollow Road?
I think we took action.
We don't usually.
It's a
This is
safety
a
concern.
conceptual thing.
Yeah.
So a couple of things, James, and I don't know if we've made you aware of it yet or not, but I know there was some concern that we weren't acting quick enough.
No.
But I do want you to know that we did go look into it. We posted our radar sign up there for 10 days, which that's about how long it's been. I don't know exactly when the incident took place, but so 93% of the cars are going 35 or less. So that was at least comforting to know that it hasn't turned into a drag strip out there. And I don't know how many cars we tagged or that we saw, but 12 of the cars that went up the street would have been a ticket had an officer saw them going that fast. So it looks like it is a smaller group that is.
Yeah, and I did reach out to I don't know, not chief, acting chief
Yeah,
Goggins.
Goggins.
and he wasn't able to pull the data to let me know. I was curious about the timing because the incident occurred at 6 a.m. in the morning, which there's not a lot of traffic, and it just takes one vehicle to really disrupt the world. So
Yeah, so it looks like there were 30, in this 10-day period, there were 30 cars that went up the street between 5 and 10 miles an hour, 25 cars between 11 and 15 miles per hour.
over
Over a 10-day period. Yeah.
over the speed.
No,
okay.
Physically 5 to 10 miles per hour.
Oh, okay.
So the majority of cars, 240 cars, were going 26 to 30 miles per hour. 180 were doing 31 to 35. And then it starts decreasing again as you get up over that. The fastest speed was 51 to 55. There were two cars that were definitely flying up through there. And of course, some of our issue is, as you know, we can change speed limits, and I'm not saying there's any reason not to. But the very real fact is that's a hard spot to set and catch speeders. There's not a great spot there to where you can be
Right.
inconspicuous. So that's still we still have an issue, even if we lower it to 25. 90% of the people are driving around that speed anyway. So trying to get those that may be speeding is still going to be difficult for us. And I know you're aware of that.
There are two driveways that have volunteered, and the officers have been made aware, and they're ideally situated where they can set if they choose to do so. I mean, I certainly hope that just a posting and some, we have a lot of, and it's in my statement there, and I'm over my 2 minutes, but there's a number of driveways that are hidden due to foliage and the way they angle onto the roadway. And the topography there's a lot of hills and dells on that little short strip of road that cause, visibility problems coming over the hill. So I think everybody will benefit, even those coming off of Stockburger trying to make the turn, because there's a significant hill there. But
We
yeah.
probably made it worse a couple years ago when we repaved that.
I wasn't going to bring that up, but it did seem to pick up a little bit. But the real concern is that the number of children, and I did put a comment in there. I think 6 of the 10 homes that have a driveway have small children, and
Mr. Scanlon, do you have reason to believe that it was anybody from your neighborhood, or did you ask those kinds of questions?
I recently ran for school board in Greenland, and I'm now on there. But I spoke to every single person that lives on that roadway. Whenever I was getting my signatures, I've grown up with them. I know a number of them, and nobody knows anything really. And so it's a dead end street. It could have been somebody going to dump trash and then getting out really fast. I really don't know, but haven't had any indications, and certainly appreciate the support of the guys to look for that, but no, we haven't found it. And whether that person knows they're wrong.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So it wouldn't really do me any good.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. All right, any other discussion with the council? No?
I don't have any issue lowering it.
You got any issue with me lowering this?
Not at all.
Not too
Did you say don't lower it too
much. I
much?
said not too much. You'll freeze us out.
No discussion on your end? All right. We got a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion carries. All right. So typically the way that would work, Public Works and Police Department would get together and discuss that, typically how they do it. Then they come to recommend it to the council, just to make sure we're the ones that are going to catch the flack for lowering or not lowering a speed limit. So that's typically the way it would work. I will get with Isaac and, I know, James, I think you took some pictures. There's some old signs laying down up there that,
So they did come out and put the signs back up with the 30 on there,
Mhm.
so I certainly appreciated that.
yeah,
I was trying to actually preempt that with hopes that before they go out and put this, go to the effort of putting those signs up to do 25s, but, I understand that wasn't how the process works. So-
well, and to be frank with you, in order to put a 25-mile-an-hour sign up, we'd have to steal it from somewhere else in town. You know as well as I do, we don't have those in stock.
So I did get some feedback that there are some available, and then in my survey last night, there are streets that have you could hit them with a rock between 25 and 25, so.
Yeah.
The children playing signs, there's some roads that I know those kids are in college now. And so maybe just reappropriation of some of those areas where we know there's not any small children
Yeah.
might be an opportunity as well, just to help with the cost.
On my street, it says slow children playing.
We're talking about you.
We'll get some up though. All right. Anyone else want to address the council tonight?
We're gonna have an opportunity for the folks later if they wanna talk during the maintenance of real property or the street plan or the sign ordinance, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, just making sure.
Just like every meeting.
Okay.
Nobody else wants to address the council?
Oh, why not?
Tell us your name and where you live, sir. Steve,
Langford.
how do you spell that?
WINK, LER.
L-E-O, okay.
Henry's cousin. I just have a suggestion for,
Are you really Henry's cousin? Are you related to
might
them?
be, might not.
Go ahead.
I have a suggestion about information coming from the city. I think it would be helpful if we, at the month, in the month report and stuff like that, say how many building permits were issued. I think that's a pretty interesting number.
Okay.
And also how many business licenses were issued. And so we can track those, because right now, I called Chrissy to find out. I can find out how many business licenses are current, but I can't, she doesn't track them from, like I said, well, have we progressed any in 5 years? Well, she don't keep up with that. So I think it'd be an interesting, to see how the town's trending as those things, that keep up with the things that the census doesn't keep up with. They'll keep up with the population, but they don't track that other stuff, and it's a way to indicator, being a numbers guy, the more numbers you have, you kind of look and see what's going on. Anyway, it's just an idea to
Fair enough.
see what's going on. Some people think that we're losing businesses, and just talking to people, they start counting them up and say, well, there's less businesses here than there were 5 years ago, but we don't have the data, so. But, and it would, if we say there's all this talk, we're going to grow this and that, grow this and that, let's see the numbers. That's all.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Mayor, just one more comment on that list, something that came up yesterday as I was driving around. There is a section on McKnight Street that is 30 miles per hour from Bullard to Park, and it's 25 miles per hour from Main to Bullard. So there's a section that it's
Yep.
2 speed limits.
Yes. That's been brought up multiple times.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I think they had that on Highway 71 not too long ago. I think I remember bringing that up. What, one direction was like 45 and one was 55 right as you were coming into town.
I'm
Remember
pretty
that?
sure,
Yeah, I do.
You don't
I do.
remember that?
I do remember.
I'm pretty sure if you're going south, it's about 90.
Yeah, it must be.
Because when they come around the corner down there, they gun it.
Right there beside you.
Right by my house.
No, right beside you.
Oh,
I don't go by his house. All right, anybody else? All right. We'll get into our business reports. First up is the Planning Commission. Walter?
Good evening. Our last meeting was really quick, lasted all of 19 minutes. We had a couple of lot splits that were really straightforward. Other than that, we just kind of hemmed and hawed about what we're going to do later if you guys approve our master street plan and future land use map.
Any questions for Walter?
It was an easy meeting.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Next is court report. Tracy?
Hello. Okay. Oops. Okay. Do you want to talk about money? Because we don't make any. Our disbursements were down about 4,000 from last month, and they're down about 13,000 from the same time last year. And our citations show that we're down about, my calculations are a little over 300 from same time last year. I don't know why. But I do show this month compared to last month that we were up 40. The only other things I was gonna say is I'm still trying to get numbers on from the vital records people that we store all of our old documents with. I'm still trying to get numbers to find out how much it will cost to not store stuff and just scan it and then get it shredded. The only numbers they've given me so far is that it would be $1,800 for them to pick the boxes up and take them to the dock. And then I asked them how much it was, like if we go get them, if it's, and it's like so much a box if we go get it, and it's so much a box if they bring them to us. And then there's like a destroy order, and I mean, it's like an extra $10 a box, and I believe they said we have 193 boxes. And I'm like, man, that's a lot of money. And that's just to get it, not to keep it there. So I'm still working on getting a real quote from them to find out exactly how much that would cost. I think in the long run it'll save us money, but it seems like a lot right now. Jessica and I went to Little Rock and did some training. We got to, we had somebody there from security, and we had people there from driver control, and it's really good when we get together. We get to meet with all the other district court clerks, and we really enjoy doing that and learning how they do things. It's amazing how different everything is from court to court. You'd think, oh, it's Washington County District Court, everybody does it the same way. That is not the same. Nothing is the same anywhere, it doesn't seem like. Everybody's procedures are totally different. We have been talking a lot about security also, and we had a couple of people from Washington County come down last week to talk about our security. They have recommended getting benches instead of chairs in here. That is one of the things that they said. The quote on that is $4,500. It's a lot of money. The other thing they recommended was strapping all the chairs together with like just zip ties to make it more secure. And we have people coming in to talk to us about tinted glass and just a couple little things that we can do. And it's amazing the things that you don't think about. And they're like, this is a security problem, this is a security problem. They ask us to take down all of your little signs before court because those are weapons. Who would have thought of that? But anyway, we've had several visitors in the last week because we're trying to get quotes on different things, and then we'll come back and bring numbers when we get those. The tinted glass, they're trying to get that to us by the end of the week. So.
Okay. Any questions for Tracy?
Okay.
Thank you. Blair?
Good evening. So the library's checkouts were at 2,600 for last month, which is down from the month before. Gate counts are down somewhat as well, but hopefully those will go back up with the start of our summer reading program. For programs, this month we have Susan Culp, a local author, at the library tomorrow, May 10th. She'll be there with copies of her new book that you can purchase, and she can sign them. This Friday we have the Game and Fish Commission to talk about Arkansas animals. And this Saturday is the chocolate buffet that the Friends of the Library put on. It starts at 10 and goes to 12. Goes to 12. Any questions?
No?
None?
So Blair's getting ready to get a new parking lot. Have we heard any more on that since the last we talked?
Yeah, it's supposed to start this summer, but there's a bit of a snag in like removing like the old part of the parking lot. Like the quotes that we're getting for it is wildly expensive. It goes way over budget. So hopefully Isaac and in the city can help us excavate the current parking lot, which I think excavate is a great word because it's been there forever. Like it's very old. But other than that, it should start this summer.
And Blair has a blueprint of it if anybody wants to stop by the library and look at it.
Yeah, and I
What
can
it's gonna
print you
look
out
like.
copies too if you want to take them home. But we have a big giant one to look at if you're inclined. Anything else?
No?
Thank y'all.
Thanks, Blair. Our police department, our interim chief is having a baby tonight.
He is?
Yes.
His wife?
His wife is he's having a baby too. I have not heard anything since about 3:30, but they were inducing at that time, so.
6:12, she was pushing.
Okay. He did send me a report though, as I mentioned when James was up here. Riley just got back from a street cop conference last month, and so they'll be working through some of the things that we picked up through that. There were 343 calls for service. They're currently working on their 3-year ACIC audit. They confirmed that their IT solution is fully FIPS compliant, and Officer Beck is still going through field training. Any other questions on the police department?
Yes. Do we have a new chief?
We do. So we had 33 applicants. We narrowed that down to 7 to interview for an in-person interview. We got those interviews finished last Saturday, not this past Saturday, but the Saturday before. On Friday, I did reach out to Bruce Halliburton and offer him the position. He is from Missouri. He went and played high school baseball or college baseball in Northeast Arkansas and met a girl from Georgia and followed her to Georgia, married her. He did a career in Georgia and retired and is now looking to get back toward home. He's got 30 years of experience. He's done a little bit of everything. He was military police for a little while he's in the military. He's done code enforcement. He's been a patrol officer, SWAT team leader, patrolman, hostage negotiator, sergeant, lieutenant, detective, field training officer. He's had professional training in leadership and management. He has a really good resume. Really good guy. When we met with him, interviewed him, he interviewed really well. When you bring somebody in from the outside like that, you never know if they're going to give us a year and a half like Chief Watts did and then leave. And that could be the case. But I think we're a better police department for Chief Watts, even if he was only here for a year and a half. And not that bringing somebody from the outside is always good, but it's not always bad either. I tell our department heads close to once a month that one thing we suffer from in West Fork is complacency. It's easy to get used to. We've always done it this way, and so it is nice to have somebody come in with a little different take on things, and we'll see what we get. But he's supposed to be here June 14th to be his first day. He's got to finish out his job there. So he he retired from East Point, Georgia, which is a suburb of Atlanta. It's a little bit smaller than Fayetteville. he retired from there, and he was living in a smaller town outside of that, like a West Fork, probably a little bit bigger. He took a job there after he retired and was able to get on his retirement system. Took a job there as SRO and has started to look to get back closer to home since. So Chief Halliburton will need a place to live, if anybody knows anything that's open. When we get him here, I've got, I think I'm going to get Sheriff Cantrell. I haven't confirmed yet, but I've reached out to him and a couple others to meet with him on those first couple days on the job, just to meet with him, talk to him, have breakfast, something like that, introduce him to the community. So that's where we are on it.
Where are we on our officer?
Officer Cordero has resigned effective Thursday. And that's kind of where we're at with that. The investigation is at the prosecutor to decide whether if they're going to press any charges or not. And that we're kind of hung up there, to be honest with you. The news somehow got word that Officer Cordero had resigned. They reached out today, 4029. They were FOIAing the resignation letter. I don't know what they're going to do with it, but that's where we are with it. We're still waiting for the most part, but both investigations are complete.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the police department?
Are we ready to hire another officer now, since he resigned?
We'll probably wait until the new chief comes in and let him make that determination.
Okay.
Yep.
Makes sense.
There's a possibility that one of the interviewees may want the position. So we'll see how that, but again, I think that should be a new chief's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, anything else on the police department? No? Okay. Ellie, you gonna let us know if that baby comes while
I
we're,
will.
okay. Next is Public Works. Isaac is working tonight. Chad was short of umpires, and Isaac is filling in at the park. You saw the water and sewer report. Water loss is down. It's been trending down the last 2 months.
Awesome.
Still,
Sewer looks terrible.
sewer looks terrible. We're still having issues with that. We haven't heard anything else on Fayetteville. If they're any closer to being ready to sign a contract with us and see where we go with those water and sewer rates. But that's obviously our biggest issue in water and sewer right now is that I&I.
Are the bathrooms open over there?
Yes, sir. One of them.
One of them, okay.
Yeah.
I know Chad's not here, and I know that, you know, a lot of, I've been going down there in the evenings and walking. And, man, during the week, they do a fantastic job. And I was kind of aggravated Saturday evening when a lot of people from out of town came in. There's trash everywhere, and I know that they go pick up and what they have to do every day. I walked around picking up trash on my way, but still, I really want them to know how much I appreciate what they do. They do a great job at that park with all the influx of people that we get. It's amazing.
So we'll come back to that when we get to the Parks Department. Isaac, any questions on Public Works? I just wanted to give you an update because this is one of the things I'm really excited about in Public Works. So we have we've purchased the the hardware to map out all of the sewer taps, water taps, fire hydrants, not only the taps, but repair spots. We can map all of that now at the city. I say we can do it. The last I heard, it was coming in. It's almost here. And the reason this is a big deal, and I think I brought this up a couple years ago, but we found a water tap that had been put in 20 years prior that had never been built. Some of that stuff's out there, right? You don't know it till you stumble across that. But going forward, every tap that we put in, we'll be able to shoot that in, and it'll create a map of all of those lines. So not only does it give us a picture of where that stuff's at, but it also gives us a better picture of how our infrastructure is laying, what issues we can expect in the future because of how that stuff was put in originally. But with that, Isaac and Chief Myers are working on a hydrant maintenance program where not only do we know where our hydrants are, but a system of actively going out and testing those. Chief Myers knows that there's some hydrants he may pull up to that doesn't have very good pressure, right? But we need a system in place of communicating that information, and we're getting close to having that in place.
Will that help in filling gaps where they don't know, where you take 10 taps and connect the dots and find where pipes are at?
Absolutely.
They don't know where they're at now.
Yeah.
So that'll be huge.
It's gonna be really nice, yeah.
And wasn't we charging a resident for sewer when they were hooked onto a septic?
Not that I'm aware of. I haven't heard of that one.
That was, yeah,
It's happened.
yeah. I was thinking,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's happened. Typically, if that happens,
Yeah.
it's something that's caught
Yeah.
very quickly, but it happens.
Usually they mention it if that's the case. When it's the other way around, they say kind
Yeah.
of like, yeah. But anyway, so I'm excited about getting that in place and on both sides, public works side and the fire side, of being able to map that stuff out.
Will that help identify like problem areas where we have more leaks and that type of stuff, or?
I think it will. It'll definitely give them a better view of what the infrastructure looks like in that area. I think it'll definitely help
Right.
with some of that.
and when you test them hydrants, don't let them run very long.
Or what's wrong, run it by your house all day.
That's a water loss.
Not only that, it creates a lot of brown water in the water too.
Next is the parks report. You guys have Chad. Did he have anything? I don't think he even had anything in there this week, or this month. So as Don was saying, yes, trash is the biggest issue at the parks. I mean, it's a really big issue on the weekends. And Don, to your point, I was down at the park last night talking to Chad, and while I was talking to him, I think 3 people walked by telling him the exact same thing, that while they're walking, they're picking up trash because they feel for him and they know that those guys in the parks are doing all they can to keep up with it. So, yeah, point noted. The bathrooms are open. They are not plastic.
They are not.
They kind of look like a child's playhouse when you drive by, but they are solid concrete. But they have multiple layers of paint on them, so that if somebody does come by and graffiti them, it can come off, and that's the idea behind it. Don, you obviously haven't been in them if you're asking
No.
if they're open.
No, one still had a sign, and then I saw somebody coming out of another one, so I
Yeah.
was curious of whether they were.
So
So you were hoping it was working.
Yeah, hoping
they
one of them was.
They got them hooked up and then had an issue with one side of them flushing properly. So I'm not sure what happened between the test and the opening day, but they were looking at that. You probably noticed, but we've got signs on the doors that say the times that they're open, so they have locks that automatically open and unlock. So I think we currently have a program from like 6 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. Which is nice. That'll keep anyone trying to live in there or whatever. But there's nothing to them, there's nothing fancy about them, but they're a nice improvement down there to that park. And I haven't paid attention to see if the porta potty's been picked up yet, but they will soon be gone.
Chad wanted to wait till he got the other side of it.
That'll save money too, once they get those things a lot.
Yeah. Next is Fire Department, Chief Myers.
You're kind of on a roll, right? Hate to interrupt you.
Thanks for showing up.
Hey, you know, some of the dollars, so yeah, maybe we get to this next month or something. Call volumes on the roller coaster, it always is, up, down, up, down. We're up, obviously, from last month, and actually even more so than this time last year or so. Several NBA car fire stuff still going on. Blood drive is going to be Wednesday, June 28th at the community center. Be all day from 8 to probably around 3:30, 4 o'clock. So we want everybody to come out for that. This time of year, we're in the field days. Kindergartens walk around town Friday, going to spray them with water. School inspections, that's a busy time. If we don't get rain, we're gonna be real busy with grass fires, so everybody keep an eye on that. Other than that, that's really all I got.
Any questions for Chief Myers? Thank you, sir. Christie?
So the city is showing a bank balance increase of 36,000 for the year. All of our departments are under budget for a total of 195,000 under budget so far this year. And our city sales tax is still showing to be about 15% greater than it was this time last year. And as you guys have already stated, the water department, the sewer expense to Fayetteville, plus the bonds is still heavily in the negative, 82,000 for the year. But that is very much on par for where we were last year, and we're much drier so far this year than we were last year. So that'll probably start offsetting itself soon. The bank balances for the water department have increased by 39,000 this year. The sewer plant closeout, I know we think it's all been completed already, but we actually this month finally paid everything off, so that is absolutely complete now. All the payments were made. We had requested to be able to use up to $100,000 out of the depreciation fund from ANRC. Just because we knew that there was going to be a little bit more expense than what the bonds had, and we only had to use 40,000 of that, so it wasn't quite as detrimental to that depreciation fund as we had thought it was going to be. So I thought that was good news. The 2018 water audit should be complete by the end of this week. I have been in touch with the auditor multiple times this week, just trying to get him some additional reports that he's requested. And I think I forwarded you guys that email, but he said he would try to have the rest of those done by the end of this month. Realistically, probably middle of June. So
But that catches completely up.
we will be completely caught up at that point.
So that'll be 19 and 20, is that right?
It'll be through 22.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yes, it'll be completely
That's
caught up.
awesome.
Yes.
Wow.
Any questions for Christie?
Mhm. That's good news.
It is good. All right, that concludes our business reports. We'll move into old business. First item up is ordinance number 514 to adopt the 2021 edition of the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code. Do we have any questions or concerns? We We have any
So
motions?
last month, we did the public notification, and now we're passing it, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
To suspend the rules?
Yes, and then by title only.
A second.
Do what?
I want to make sure Christie had 3
Oh,
copies
okay.
when we go live.
So we have a motion and second to suspend the rules and read by title only. Misty Cottle,
Yes.
Jan Upton, Jeff Upton, sorry. They're too close together. Jan Throgmorton,
Yes.
Marty Lindaberry,
Yes.
John Collins,
Yes.
Don Rollins.
Yes.
All right, that passes.
Now,
You want?
That was the motion to suspend.
Yes.
So it's an ordinance adopted by reference to the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code 2021 edition, repealing code provisions in conflict therewith, declaring an emergency. And the declaring emergency is, if y'all want to, and I was going to just defer to Chief on declaring emergency, I'm not sure we need to, but it'll go into effect in 30 days if we don't.
Builders have to follow the codes anyway, this is just a help to enforce it better, so.
Then you can avoid one more vote, so that's a title, you can take a motion to pass.
Okay. Any questions? Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to pass.
Second.
Ordinance 514. Okay. Misty Cottle,
Yes.
Jeff Upton,
Yes.
Jan Throgmorton,
Yes.
Marty Lindaberry,
Yes.
John Collins,
yes.
and Don Rollins.
Yes.
That motion carries. Item 2 of old business, ordinance number 515, maintenance of real property, review. We didn't get that till this evening.
The blank pages are for people to make notes, Mayor.
Okay,
That's a lot of
Perfect.
blank pages.
May I discuss this?
please,
briefly?
please.
So what y'all had last month, if you recall, is a version that your local master gardeners were kind enough to work on and get to you. And I made some changes to that, and I wanted to explain them briefly, and then perhaps the mayor will entertain. Ms. Stitt might want to come up and just talk a little bit about that, and then maybe y'all can think about it over the month and get ready to pass something. But one of the things that the ordinance does, and it follows a theme, I think, that Steve Ford first introduced to us, and then the two young men that came by and shared their time with us, you know, the fellows from the Natural Landscape Company, and then the gardeners helped us with is sort of changing the way we think about what a lawn is and making the code more friendly to the alternatives, the way we look at lawns in the city, making it so that people can grow and take care of spaces that are more beautiful, maybe than a lawn, certainly that invite more health for the area, for the community, for nature, by allowing us to get native plants back in, growing, to grow things for good insects, to encourage people to grow food if they want to. But those things I tried to make sure I preserved in the ordinance. I didn't change much of that except for one that I want to make sure I brought to your attention, and that is I put a height maximum back in where it had been taken out. They left a height maximum in, your suggestion did, where we were just talking about lawns, just turf grass, let's call it. But there wasn't one for sort of these other ideas, and the one where I thought we might want to have one in, so I put it back for y'all to consider, is ornamental plants as defined as grasses, perennials, annuals, ground covers. And I put the 8 inches back in and purposely planted for aesthetic reasons. And it's just because I don't know enough to know if the folks who will be enforcing this will be able to roll up to a lawn that someone has complained about and know that these are ornamental grasses and not turf grass. It's okay. They may look wild to me. And I thought that they might need that 8 inch sort of objective standard. But I would like to hear, about that from, I'd like y'all to hear about that from the folks who know more about it than I do, and why that might need to come back out, if it does. Regardless, we still have a maximum height for just the turf grass that everyone's used to. The other thing I wanted to say real quick, Mayor, I'm sorry to take up so much time, and that is that the version that y'all saw last month had really altered the way we notify landowners of a violation. And it was, I think, a system that was meant to encourage a give and take between the officer and the landowner. One where they said instead of 7 days, they were given 21 days. And if they couldn't quite get things right after 21 days, there was another period of time that they could use. What we have, the problem with that is our state law says 7 days. And after 7 days, the officer could enter the land. And I didn't want to do something that would put us out of compliance with that. So I left it 7 days in there to respond, just to sort of acknowledge I've gotten a notification, whether it's on my door or in my mailbox, or just by talking to someone. And then I added another 14 days to kind of get into compliance. And then I gave the officer the ability to add up to 21 more days based on, is there progress being made? How acute is the problem? Is it bothering the neighbors real bad? Do we have vermin, your favorite word, Mayor? Snakes, rats, mosquitoes? Or is it something that they really have put a lot of time into what they created, and they just need more time to kind of bring it back to a place where it works for the whole community? That is something for y'all to consider if you wanted to do something like that. I think that the officers who will be enforcing this need to have, that 7 days. If they get no response at all, then they can go into the lawn, and cut what they need to, and do whatever else they need to. But if someone is working with them, we preserve that, extra 14 and even up to extra 21 days.
Gives them a
Beyond
lot of
the 14.
leeway discretion.
Yes, sir.
And that's what we want. We've always
Yeah.
said that we want to work with them, with the property owners to get the issue resolved. We're not out there to write tickets for.
Putting liens on property and collecting money is a very complicated business. We had a real complicated code that used to track what the state law used to say. So I changed that just so it'll always track state law. Otherwise, there's no other major changes. So, Mayor, I just want to get that out.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the council on that? Bonnie, anything you want to add from what you've heard?
Let me just, I'll just get to the microphone real quick
Sure.
and just say, I'm just seeing this tonight also for the
Sure.
first time. But I cheated and read through it instead of paying attention to what else was happening in the meeting. And I'm comfortable with what Tom has done here, but I'll just,
Okay.
I mean, there's one thing that, the 8-inch height for ornamental plants, I mean, that's not, I don't think that's what I think of as the definition of an ornamental, but if whatever, I'm sure Tom has a good reason for whatever he's thinking there, so.
Most things
Anyway.
like an ornamental grass are gonna be higher than
Yeah.
they're gonna be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can back that back out if y'all, I just wanted to make sure everybody's comfortable with that.
I think you put that in there as, some guidance for maybe the person that didn't know what ornamental grass was or not.
Well, really, the
Bonnie, is there
ornamental
a height
grass
we
is,
should go to? Is it?
Are you talking like
18?
pampas grass?
I guess I was thinking about.
Yeah, 6, 7 feet.
I was thinking of a flower there, like, I mean, some
Hey, let's
flowers.
let Bonnie talk real quick so we can all hear her.
I guess I was thinking of like a 12 to 18, I mean, ornamental plants are defined as grasses, perennials, annuals. I was thinking of like, if I plant a cosmos, it's gonna sometimes be 3 feet tall. To me, that's an ornamental plant. It's not a grass. I mean, I personally don't like the look of tall grass, so I'm not gonna be planting tall grasses in my yard. But I might be planting some flowers that might be 3 feet tall.
And even, but my understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, we haven't changed this, but if someone was doing flowers or ornamental plantings, they would be in a defined area, correct?
I would assume so,
I
but they
mean,
wouldn't,
don't we have that in there that?
I mean, they wouldn't want to be mixed in with a lot of noxious or invasive weeds. We've got that in there. That's the areas that are planned as a, you know, like on, for example, if someone did a meadow wildflower meadow or something, it shouldn't be mixed in with a lot of invasive or noxious weeds. It says as long as they're absent of noxious weeds, so.
Look at that first definition.
Yeah,
It
managed
says
natural
managed.
landscape that is defined as a planned, intentional, and maintained planting of native or non-native grasses.
Yeah, that would be a designated area.
Well, I mean, it's at least it's something that's manicured. It's not just throwing seeds all over everything and letting it grow past
Exactly.
8 inches and saying, so, I think we can probably get away with, and it may all need to be reworded, Tom, I think we need the turfs are 8 inch.
That's in there.
But maybe as far as perennials and annuals and,
I can back that height restriction back out.
yeah.
Take that
Just-
out.
I think
Okay.
so
I
too.
think so.
We'll do that.
It's a
But
lot of friendly
I read through
Yeah, I'm
the-
thinking,
I
to me,
read-
I'm looking,
Hey,
think
yes,
everything's
Bonnie's still got the
fine.
floor.
Oh, sorry. I just read through the notice required section the way Tom reworded it, and I'm comfortable with it. I think it's even more generous than what we had. I mean, the only question that I think the reason we wanted to change it to 21 days was just thinking, what if someone's in the hospital or on vacation or something, and somebody, you know, the code enforcement officer comes by, leave something on the door and they don't even know that it's there, but if it's state law, then I don't really see how we can, what we can do about that. So I would just ask that people would be thoughtful about not giving somebody a notice if they're on vacation. I mean, some people are gone on vacation for several weeks or whatever. So I would think that could be an issue, but if it's state law, I'm not trying to change it.
Yeah,
So-
and like Tom said, he put the extra in there so that we have it at our disposal, should we need it.
I mean, is the rest of my committee comfortable? Are y'all?
Very much with that, yeah.
Okay.
I agree with you that the 8 inches, I would like that to go out of
Ornamental
ornamentals.
plants?
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on the council? Do you guys want to look at this, take some time to look through this, or how do you guys want to move forward with it?
I like it. I just agree with, we ought to probably take out the 8 inches on
Okay?
the ornament.
Bring that back. Bring it back next month.
Is that a motion?
Yes, make a motion, we turn it over to Tom to revise it, taking out the
And bring it back.
8 inches and bring.
And if Bonnie's group on Closer Reflection has other suggestions, I'll
Yeah.
incorporate those as well.
Okay.
So you're making a motion, we table it until we've made the
Yes.
changes?
Yes,
Okay.
Second.
Motion and second, all those in favor say yes.
yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion carries. You guys want to do item 4 first or item 3 first?
Three's easy.
What in the?
Chrissy did it on purpose.
Making sure you're on your toes.
I mean,
All right. So we'll do item 4 that's in item 3 spot, because I think we got more people here for that than anything else. So old business item 4, resolution 2023-05, adopt a master street and future land use map. So Juliet is going to give us a small presentation for those, if any of you, who have not seen it yet. While Juliet's getting that pulled up, are there any of the folks from 156 that, or 170? No?
156.
I'd been told that there was some folks that lived out that way that I guess had heard some things and had came in and was asking questions, so. Are they off? That change your mind, Steve?
What?
Just wondering.
I looked at my phone. What changed my mind about what? I don't know. More comedy.
Bazinga.
Okay.
All right, here we go. And council, you guys all have this in your packet.
Yep.
Okay, so this is a draft called the Westport Vision Plans, but it contains the future land use plan and the master street plan. This is something that the planning commission has been working on for about 9 months. 3 months? A year, I don't know. 2 years. Well, yeah. We started working on some other pieces of the code, and it became clear that the city didn't have a comprehensive plan or future land use plan that had been updated recently and wasn't reflective of West Fork as it is today, and the demographics that you have and the pressures that you have. And so we've moved forward with updating the plan. There's a couple things. I apologize, my PowerPoint for some reason doesn't like this computer, so I'm just going to kind of go through the document. But let me just say a couple things that were in my presentation. So first of all, this is a policy document. It's not a regulation. Okay, so we're not rezoning anybody's property. It's a policy. All right, it's meant to be a tool for the planning commission and the city council to utilize as development comes forward in West Fork. The whole document has about, what I would say, roughly a 20-year planning horizon. So we're trying to look kind of further out in the future, right? Is it perfect? No. Do we know everything that's going to happen in the next 20 years? No. But we're looking to try to make, some educated guesses and folding in sound policy and planning principles to try to give a good guide for the city to follow. It is a living document, right? So you're going to pass it, but I anticipate that you will have changes, right? Because our ability to see 20 years out is limited, right? And so there are going to be things that you encounter that you may want to update to the future land use plan or the master street plan along the way. And that's fine, and it's expected and what should be. And I would recommend, honestly, just in Northwest Arkansas is a very dynamic growth area, right? And I would, in this kind of development environment, I would recommend that you look at the entire document, just at one of your regular planning commission meetings every 2 years, maybe even every 1 year, right? To look at it and just check back and say, okay, is this still where we want to go? Is this still reflective of, the infrastructure that we're putting in the ground and where that's going to serve us? All those things. It's meant to be a holistic view of the city. And another thing it does is it helps communicate what the city's vision is to people who are interested in developing in West Fork, right? They come in and they're, they may be a developer that does commercial, or they may be a developer that does residential, right? And now they can look at a map and they'll say, okay, I kind of see where you're planning for certain types of development. And, and so to me, that's very helpful when they come to the planning commission, right? And people, if they submit something and there's not a good plan that's really reflective of, where services are available or could be available in the future, and things like that, then there can be a lot of emotions involved and a lot of back and forth. So this is just a way to communicate up front, kind of, a rough framework of where you're looking at different uses
in your city. Plans like this, we looked at a lot of different things with the Planning Commission and then also with the public. Try to scroll through this. Oh, one other thing, and Tom can talk more about this as well. Also, this is not just something fun that we've made up to do. If you have a zoning ordinance and a subdivision ordinance in the state of Arkansas, you're required to have planning documents that go behind those, right? And so that's what this document helps be a basis for you to make decisions on rezoning and the development and subdivision of land. And so that you are required to have these documents if you are going to regulate zoning and subdivision and development, which are all things that you do. We look at kind of the existing conditions, you know, specific demographics, how have you grown, how do you compare to other cities that are also growing in the area. If you came to the October meeting, you'll remember we had lots of boards that showed the different demographics and things like that. And then what, you know, when was your housing built? What years? For instance, y'all had a lot of development in the 90s and not so much, you know, since 2010. So in the early 2000s as well. We look at the trends, of course, of where Northwest Arkansas is going as a whole. Not a surprise, it's a growing place. We talked a lot about that, just kind of how fast it is growing, which I think makes it all the more important to have a plan in place so that you can know kind of how you want to tackle development as it comes to your city and ensure that you have the infrastructure in place to support it and the codes that allow you to require infrastructure be built by developers. We also did a public survey. We had 268 responses, which is a great response rate for a community your size, and got a lot of feedback from people. And then also we had the public input meeting in October, and we had a lot of feedback at that meeting. And I think it was very wise that there, after that, we had 5 subsequent meetings that were well advertised, you know, to make sure that the people who had concerns in October, that we had a chance to speak with them and look at everything that they had concerns about and try to address those and assess whether they were in line with what we were trying to accomplish. So I won't go through kind of everything, but we took this information. We have a mission statement and different goals and objectives for the city. Again, this is just policy. It's a framework. It's reflective of what we heard, you know, in the Planning Commission meetings for the last year leading up to this, and then in the public input session. So, like the mission statement, just read to you real quick. Develop a comprehensive plan which respects the city's small town attributes and unique characteristics while allowing the city to facilitate thoughtful, safe, and sustainable growth. The plan shall encourage and manage appropriate development, recreational areas, and infrastructure while also improving the quality of life and providing a welcoming environment for all residents and businesses. And so I think, like many plans, you're looking at a way to balance development and growth with what you have in the city now. That you feel like makes it special. Whenever we develop plans, you know, with cities and a system of that, you know, I think to me the best outcome always is taking a thorough look at what you have, you know, understanding what it is about a place that people love, right? Why they stay there, why you want to continue to live there, understanding that and what constitutes that. So in West Fork, you know, we heard a lot of, you know, like the small town feel. People love the river, love the park along the river. They like that they're able to walk places in town. It feels, they do wish there were more sidewalks, but that is, you know, something that y'all are working on. You know, they like the downtown area. They would like to see that revitalized to some extent and grow in the future, but not lose, you know, its character. So those are all the things that we heard, and to me, what we want to do and what we tried to do with the plan was, you know, the planning commission understood that, and we looked at how can we build a framework for future land use that respects that and helps build on all of those things, right? So that, I mean, West Fork, there's gonna be some change, right? Anytime you have growth, or even as time passes, even if you don't have growth, you know, then there's always change, you can't avoid it, but trying to understand that and keep that in place. And then you layer on top of that, you know, the more practical pieces, you know, where do we have roads? What are the issues with traffic congestion in the city? Where do we have water and sewer now? Where could we conceivably put water and sewer in the future as the city grows? Where do we have recreation areas? What is a floodplain and what does that mean to development? So you take all of that and kind of put it together, and then that took us to the actual plan. And so the plan to me is not anything wild or crazy. I mean, it looks at, you know, the true potential of, you know, that there may be development along I-49 in the future. I think that is a reasonable thing to think about, and if you do have development there, it's gonna look different than it is in other parts of town. You're probably gonna have some development and redevelopment along 71 or Centennial in the future. And again, that's gonna look different than, and you want it to be different, right, than what you have along the interstate. So you have a slightly different, you know, category for that. You have, you know, the residential medium, RM category, that's reflective of a lot of the residential conditions that you have in the city today. So the newer subdivisions, names are escaping me, but near the ballpark, and places like that, you know, that's reflective of that type of development. And then in the core of the city, you have, you know, your downtown area, where you have a very different feel. The buildings are closer, you know, to the street. You know, think about what the front of this building looks like, and the Opry building. So again, we want to think about that character, respect that. How can we, you know, grow that? People want to develop in the downtown in the future. How can they develop, and then we still keep that type of character? And then the WN, which is walkable neighborhood, that's the area that I think of sort of between the downtown and Centennial. For the most part, that, you know, you have a mix of uses, right? You have your library, you have residences, you even have some smaller scale commercial buildings, right? Again, that has its own character and its own scale. And so we want to be reflective of that, right? The idea is that, you know, hopefully somebody can't come in and, not that they would want to slap, you know, Walmart Supercenter in West Fork to begin with, but if they did, you know, then it would need to go somewhere that's appropriate. It doesn't need to go, you know, in the same area that the, near the, where they make the coins, the mint. You know, like that's out of scale for that area, right? It would drastically change that part. You know, potentially some parts of 71, but probably, honestly, something like that would be more oriented toward an interstate, or something like that. And so that's what we're looking at. Again, it's a framework, it's not zoning, it's not that granular or detailed. And then for the master street plan, I'm gonna switch here real quick to have an interactive map. And that's another thing, there's been a website up since October where we posted about the plan and updated it with changes that were reflective of the feedback that we got. The master street plan, again, is looking at a potential future road network in the city, you know, looking at the roadways that we have, and then if we were to develop, you know, that you would have roadways where you need them, and that developers would be required to build those where they need to go to provide connectivity, so that you don't have as much congestion and things as you add more people to the city. So that's what this plan is reflective of. That covers everything that I kind of want to go through, and I'll I'll have these up, and if you have specific areas that you want to talk about in the city or look at maps, then we can do that.
Okay. So, council, this is something that you guys know, we've been working through this for quite a while on the planning commission. It's been a hot topic at times, and at times no one's cared about it. But it is something, Juliet didn't point this out, but we are currently in a state where if the Opry were to burn down today, under our current code, you couldn't build the Opry back. You'd be very limited to building anything on that lot. Same thing with this building. Our current code is it's outdated. It served us well for a long time. I know back in the, I want to say early 2000s, there was an attempt to update the master street plan, future land use map. Again, that's still at least 20 years old. But some parts of this planning document go back to the 50s. And it needs to be updated, and that's what we've taken on, is a complete rewrite of the whole document. Juliet convinced me that we need to start with future land use and master street plan, as it will dictate, not dictate, but it will flow with the creation of a zoning ordinance. So that's where we're at. Again, I don't think we have anybody in the room that is still has some misconceptions about what the document is. It's not a zoning document. We're not rezoning anything with what we're doing, and we're not building any roads. I don't know how many times I can say that, but we are planning for a change of the road structure in the city of West Fork. We don't know when or if it's going to happen, but it's certainly something that needs to be looked at and addressed. The road structure and the traffic counts have changed drastically in West Fork. And many of you in this room were in West Fork when Highway 49 came through. That was a big change. It took me out of West Fork schools and put me in Prairie Grove. But would we all agree today that Interstate 49 was probably a needed road? Again, the city didn't build that, but things change. We used to have, if you go back to the Arkansas DOT's road map, it's an interactive map you can pull up, and you can go back to, I want to say, 80s maybe on that and see traffic counts. What was it, 94, 95, when Interstate 49 opened up, we had 20,000 cars a day coming through West Fork on Highway 71, and it just immediately, it plummeted. You know, today there's 6,000 or 7,000, 9,000 cars a day coming from south of West Fork up 71. We lost 10,000 cars almost overnight if you look at the map. It was so drastic. So I say all that to say, I know we can't please everyone with this, but I do want everyone to know that we're not planning changes for your property or anything else. We are planning to protect the city in the event that somebody is changing something. That's what we're doing. So with that, I'll open it up to the council for any questions, comments, or concerns, and then after that, we'll open it up to the public and go from there. Anything on the council?
I'd just like to reiterate what Dina said, the last meeting, just all of the planning commission's work, and Juliet, your help and guidance. It's pretty good. And I know y'all have had put countless hours into it, and to be able to bring us something that we can look at and make sense of, because it does make sense. So I appreciate all that you all have done. So.
Anyone else? No? Okay. Public? Come on up, tell us who you are and where you live.
Billy Bob Wheeler, I've been here and there too.
We try not to use length of stay as a defining point whether you can speak or not.
Okay. A couple points that I'm kind of disappointed, maybe it's just me. I can't find this on the City of West Fork website. I've looked and looked and looked, and maybe you say it's on a website, but I went to the City of West Fork and there's all sorts of other things, but not this. I've got some points just to make. I hope to God if Walmart Supercenter comes, I hope to God that we're smart enough to make room for them somewhere. That would make a lot of sense to me. Don, you lived here in the 80s. How much traffic count was on Campbell Road?
A bunch.
200, 300? Ungodly. So everybody thinks we have all this traffic problem. It's a proven fact that that will carry tons of traffic. Our school count is way down. It's like a third down from what it was. But she said this is going to be a policy, is what she's calling it. For a good example, for people to understand, everybody knows where Don and Joe live. John and Don.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, everybody knows where Goldbaker's property is back behind you. This nonsense, like over on Clifton, would be just like they come up with a policy that they're going to go up Bullard Road, cut a road right in between your two houses to service Goldbaker's. Well, if they do that, what does it do to your property? Knowing you've got a road right in between the two of y'all's houses.
Or the possibility of a road.
Exactly. It's on their map. So what I'm saying is it's all well and good to think and decide and everything, but you're devaluing someone's property. Jeff, it'd be like you. If they decided that they wanted to build a road over there to that Kenneth McKee property, and they wanted to build a road right between you and Bruce and Judy, what would that do to your property? It's just like this on Clifton. That thing will never be built. I mean, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard of. It ain't gonna happen. But if you put it on that map, who wants to buy a house that a road could go right behind it?
Or through it.
You're just devaluing. I'm not saying that someday something might have to happen. But what I'm saying is, for 30 years, you could be devaluing someone's property. And I don't think that the council wants to do stuff like that. It don't make any sense to me. And you talk about the Channel 29 called you. What are you going to do when 29 calls you and say, West Fork City Council approved this road map from Phillips Street that has how many cars on it today? Thousands.
Mm-hmm.
To a one lane dirt road that floods. Why do we want to put a road to Granite Street? Granite Road. It's a one lane dirt road that's known to flood. Why would the city want to do something like that? It makes no sense. Every person on the property that y'all are talking about already has road frontage. Same way over at Jeff's. That guy doesn't have road frontage. Same way at Doyle's. They already have, road access. So why would we want to put this proposed road out there that is going to devalue people's property? I mean, that makes no sense. And I understand we have to have plans and all that stuff. I do. But your little triangle there, you're affecting a ton of people.
How many people?
Oh, it's all down Clifton, all up Rex and Shirley's. The sheriffs, or ex-sheriffs, there's several houses up and down through there that, you're essentially you're affecting the property. You have a proposal of a road there. Well, you know, it's just like y'all's house. If I was wanting to look at your house, I don't want to buy the first chance of a road going in front of it. Ain't no way I'd want to buy that. Well, it's the same way with all them people up Clifton.
Another road. Not just a road, because there is one in front of my house.
Well,
But if
between.
there were another road
Right,
behind it,
right. Well, that's what you're gonna do over on Clifton.
right, I get what you're saying.
You're just, everybody up and down through there, you're devaluing their property over a proposed road. It just makes no sense. I don't know why you don't
Just throw the whole thing away.
I'm not saying throw the whole thing away.
Just throw the part on Clifton away.
Part that on Clifton.
Okay.
The triangle.
So-
And don't make this a proposal, because if you're making it a proposal, you can turn around and do that to them tomorrow, or them tomorrow.
Okay. Anything else? You're starting to go in circles on us.
I'm not going in a circle.
Yeah, we've kind of covered a circle. Anything else?
No,
Okay.
that's it.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So, to go back to what we are proposing. So where this has came about. As a planning commission, we're looking at the city of West Fork, saying if there's growth in the city, we currently have all traffic going through the four-way stop. So everything comes from McKnight, everything coming from the east side of town, everything comes over to the four-way stop, right? What we're looking at in context of Clifton, since that's the only street in town that really matters, got an 8-mile strip that dictating how we design roads in the entire city. But what we're looking at there is if growth ever happened back north on Campbell Loop, how can we get traffic around the four-way stop? Is this the best way to do it? We've said 1,000 times, we don't know because we don't know where the growth is going to go. The point is, we are looking to say, how can we get some traffic? This town was not designed great for traffic. How can we move traffic through town without having to utilize a four-way stop for everything? So just across, if we start heading south from Clifton Place, we've actually drawn lines on there too, saying, hey, if growth happened on the south side of town, how can we get traffic across town without having to utilize the four-way stops? Is there a way, if developers start buying land, we can make them build us a road to get us around the four-way stop, solve a problem for the city? That's where all this is coming from. And the idea that putting a road on a map is going to devalue property, if you look at the State Highway Department's proposed road map, they go through every subdivision in northwest Arkansas. The state's got roads drawn all over this state as proposed roads in case of growth. Sometimes the growth pops up and the road plan goes away because they didn't build it. But it is all over the state maps. Now, I don't know how many times I can say the city is not building roads. The city doesn't build roads, but we do need the authority that if a developer comes in, we can take a lot from a developer and make them put that as a stub out. So that if somebody else builds, we can make them tie into that and have a through street. We do not want what happened up on Davis Street with the Duncan place, where we sell a piece of land and we've got 19 streets coming out onto a road that's too narrow for them. Because there was no thought into that. We did not make Clarence Duncan subdivide that. We just let everybody put a stub out in. So we got one road that goes and feeds 2 or 3 houses, because if it's over 3, they got to subdivide it. There's a reason for this, but furthermore, I think everybody's property that borders Interstate 49, I think their property values have went up. I think if you drive up Highway 71, property values along the road are pretty high. That doesn't seem to be a deterrent for property values. If somebody comes to Joe and says, hey, we want to put a road through your place, his property values are going to go up pretty high because now he holds the cards, right? He may not like the road there, change happens, but he can at least demand his own price.
You have to sell it to get a road built.
That's exactly right. So, I've said that multiple times. All we're doing is saying, it's no different than the yellow on the map. I'm not saying that that's gonna turn into houses, for all these folks, that live up, Mineral Springs and been farming all their life. I'm not saying it's going to, but a lot of that land is good house building land. There is a possibility that it's gonna go residential. Cities have predominantly been surrounded by agricultural property, and the cities start growing out, taking that agricultural property. I'm not saying it's good or it's bad or indifferent. I'm just simply saying that is the evolution of property. When you're close to the city limits, within that 1 mile, that falls under the city's planning documents, and I think it's one of those things that have to be looked at. It have to be addressed. Some of that stuff on Mineral Springs, when they purchased that in the 70s, they were out in the middle of nowhere. But in 2023, Low Gap is still in the middle of nowhere, but Mineral Springs isn't really. Everything's growing out to them. So, anyway, other discussion from the council.
I don't have anything that hasn't already been said. It's a future use. It's a policy. It can be changed. It's not set in stone. We're not going to go build a road tomorrow through properties.
We do currently have a master street plan that has streets on it.
Right.
Proposed streets.
That sounds like a motion. Did she make a motion? Did you make a motion?
Do we have any other comments on the council? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we pass it.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and second.
Is that without the triangle?
We have a motion and second for resolution 2023-05 to adopt the master street plan and future land use map. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no.
Abstain.
That motion carries. Item 3 in position 4 is review revisions to the sign ordinance. We do not have revisions to the sign ordinance to review.
We're thinking that now that you have a land use plan, which is a required precursor to a zoning ordinance, and we heard Juliet talk about and describe the new zones that'll make sense for city. Do we wait for those new zones to get passed before we pass this ordinance? It depends on those zones to determine what regulation is. That's what I've been talking to Christie about.
So we'll carry that in old business until we get a little bit closer. We had that narrowed down last meeting.
So do we need to table it?
Do we need to make a motion?
Let's table it. Last meeting,
I'll
we
make a
kind of
motion.
narrowed it down to just a very few things, and I think Marty brought up tying that together with.
And the monument sign.
Yeah.
Situation.
Yeah. All right. Was that a motion second?
Motion second.
Yes.
All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion carries. We don't have any new business. Do we have any other business? So I have some other business. Fayetteville City Council went to midnight the other night. They went 7 hours. You guys are packing up. John, we've only been here an hour and a half.
I'm just getting ready.
Have anything else?
Other
One time
business.
We went almost to midnight.
Huh?
One time we did go almost to midnight. It was like 11:30, but
Wow.
it was like probably 12 or 13 years ago. It was a long time ago.
Other business, last meeting, Misty, we talked about you developing an exit interview plan for
I'm still
committee
working
members.
on it.
Okay.
Yep.
And finally, mayor's comments. Christie mentioned, we do have all of the sewer expenses taken care of. That has been completely closed out. We've been setting on those ARPA funds that we had, just in case we needed those to help with the final closeout. We're closed out. We will, I know a lot of the department heads, they've been ready to spend some of that. They've got some projects, some good projects, but we are to a point where it's been so long, they probably need to go reevaluate prices on some of that, but we are to a point where we can start moving forward with some of that. John?
Make a motion as adjourned.
Second.
Have a motion and second to adjourn?
Yes.
All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries.